Welcome to another edition of Friday with the Family. This one is sure to lift your spirits. We have one of the leaders of the Spirit Squads, the cheer coach, Lindsay Bracken, will be joining us. And this is super exciting because she has not one, not two, but three national championships to talk about that all came within this year from her teams. So before we get started, I do want to remind you that you can ask questions. You can send those in for Lindsay using the Ask a Question button in the ALC webinar service or on our Facebook post. They will try to filter those into me as well, and I will get those to Lindsay as quick as I can. But here she is, Lindsay Bracken.
Hey, Julia.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us. And I talked about it a little bit, but man, you guys have had a year. So many national championships, and now we'll get into divisions a little bit later, but for large Coed, which is probably like the main division at these events, this is the 8th national championship in OSU history. And then in all the different divisions, we have now 15. I mean, this program is top of the top. And I don't know if everyone knows that when they come to game day and realize all the behind the scenes work.
Yeah, it's funny because actually a lot of the restrictions of game day and kind of the space or the court, and basketball or whatnot, and, weather conditions just kind of limits what we're able to do. So I think sometimes people don't realize that when they're attending game day at OSU, they get to, have one of the top spirit programs in front of them at each game.
Absolutely. And I remember, so I danced on the Pom Squad back in the day, got to see the stuff you guys did just being around it. And I remember traveling to away games and watching other teams just stare at your cheerleaders. Like they are that level of good. And so let's start with kind of game day, what it means when people do see these spirit squads. There's a lot that goes into that too. They're there hours before the game getting ready and prepping for those different things. Step us through that.
Yeah, part of it just kind of goes with the fact that the Spirit Squad, so at Oklahoma State, that includes the cheer team, the pom team, and then Pistol Pete, of course. We kind of take it upon ourselves and understand present the university all the time, and that includes on game day, and that's some of the most fun experiences, just getting to interact with all of the fans at the different events, especially the little kids are awesome. But our day starts depending on the event. Homecoming is a weekend in and of itself for so many people across campus, but we're there ready to go well before the walk starts, and then getting prepared and doing other events there. So there's a lot that goes, on that maybe people aren't witnessing all the time, but it really pays off and is super fun during game day, and just the excitement of being on the field and being part of the action.
And you've done that too before, not only as a coach, but as a cheerleader. Take us back to what started your OSU cheer journey.
Yeah, so really I knew Leroy McCullough. He was the coach prior to me taking over the position. And I am from Michigan originally, and I worked some cheer camps up there. And I was talking to Leroy, and I said, hey, can grad students cheer? And he's like, yeah, come on. And at that point in time, eligibility rules were a little bit different for cheer. So I came down and I ended up being on the small Coed team, which we'll talk about the different divisions, and eventually was on the large Coed team and cheered game days. And really I was at Oklahoma State for 5 years doing stuff, and graduated with my PhD. And so really it was a nice fit when Leroy decided to relocate to Dallas to be with his wife and child who had moved there, previously. And when the job came open and I was in Oklahoma, it was like, yeah, why would I not do this? So I'm glad they chose me.
So you got your PhD while cheering full time and competing. You did all of that at the same time? I didn't realize that.
Yes, I did. Yeah. I guess it was normal. I've never lived any part of my life that wasn't crazy busy. So it was crazy busy, but it was so enjoyable and it was good. It made me feel more connected with the university. Honestly, I think sometimes as a grad student, you don't get the same on-campus experiences. And so it really, kind of changes that interaction. So I feel like it actually allowed me to connect a little bit more with the university.
And your teams now, I mean, you've seen it through different years at this point. This was a weird year for all sports, and you guys are involved in all sports. What did that look like?
Yeah, a weird year is, a good way to put it. So really, during football, due to spacing and regulations and all of that kind of stuff, we were actually up on the, concourse, basically under the big screen in that east end zone. And so really for cheer, there's not a whole lot that we can do on concrete. So it really put us to a test as far as, just trying to lead the crowd, and talk about a weird phenomenon, which is trying to yell in a mask and trying to show spirit when your face isn't visible. So that was a unique and different experience, and we really tried to make sure that our seniors got to be a part of that experience. Palm and Pete were up there with us as well. And then during basketball, same thing. We were up in the stands, away from the crowd, allowing that spacing, but just trying to make sure that we contributed to the atmosphere in any way that we could. And we're typically at wrestling, and that was didn't even happen. So we're excited to get back to it next year.
Absolutely. I'm excited too to see everybody out in their orange for sure. Well, the tryout process for you guys, it's really rigorous. And you just got a new team, correct?
Yes. So in the past, our tryout has been live. So it's a 3-day process where, people show up. So one of the unique things about cheer, some universities are starting to do it a little bit more where they're actually like going out and recruiting and signing people, but that's not a step that we've taken at Oklahoma State yet. And so, a bunch of individuals that are interested in coming to Oklahoma State and cheering for Oklahoma State show up. And Friday night, we do about a 4-hour long process. Saturday, we do about 2 4-hour segments. And then Sunday's kind of that final tryout. And we're kind of making cuts along the way. So part of it is kind of, can you stick out this, really long weekend, and can your skills maintain even when fatigue is setting in? So super excited. We did virtual tryouts last year, and we did virtual tryouts again this year. We just felt like it was the best. But have a bunch of new faces eager to come. Have some people that maybe thought they were going to come to OSU last year because of COVID decided no, I'm going to wait because there's so many unknowns, and they're here this year. So it's just really exciting to kind of see stuff get back to normal.
And when you say, can you maintain your skills, what kind of skills do you expect from these people?
Yeah. So picture the circus. No. Well, it's great that we're going to see the clip of the performance, because it really shows kind of what talents these athletes have. So stunting is where you pick people up, hold them in the air. Basket tosses, where you throw the girl up and she does a flip and you catch her. Tumbling, which is like the gymnastics that you see. I laugh about it. I have a 2-year-old, almost 3-year-old daughter, and she really likes to watch Mama's Cheerleaders. And we were watching the USA Olympic or the US trials, Simone Biles, and she's like, "Oh, those are Mama's Cheerleaders." I'm like, "Yes, those are Mama's Cheerleaders, exactly." But there are definitely people that have the skill to be kind of considered among some of those. But if only Simone was my cheerleader. But those are the kind of acrobatics that we're kind of looking for from them. And one thing that's different about high school and really all-star, which is kind of where we get a lot of our cheerleaders from, is it's a spring floor, which is like what you see on a gymnastics setting, versus when we compete and do stuff, we're on what's known as hard floor, so there's no springs underneath it. So obviously it can kind of make it a little bit more difficult during that tryout process.
And do you have like a minimum skill requirement? I know some schools, if you have a back handspring, that's enough. What does that look like for you guys?
Yeah, so really, our listed requirement is a round off handspring tuck. So that means basically a cartwheel with a back handspring, which is a back flip where your hands touch, and a back flip where your hands don't touch, all connected. Really, all of our athletes exceed that expectation. So they can all do a round off right back handspring and then a flip with no hands with a twist. And they can do that also from a standing position. So it really, is pretty competitive. And the reason why we have that skill requirement is when we go to competition, there is basically kind of a rubric of how these skills score, and those skills allow us to score in the highest range. So that means that our score, could put us in position to win at competition. So.
Okay. And so the three different squads, I know this can get a little bit confusing, and it's also impressive that you guys manage this many squads throughout the years. You've got your large co-ed who you see on game day,
Yep.
and then what else?
So, yep, large Coed is the team that is recognized under athletics and, supported by the athletic department. And that's who you see on game day. And then they compete at, it's called the National Cheerleaders Association competition in Daytona Beach, Florida every April. In addition, it actually started my very first year at Oklahoma State. So it's kind of nice to continue that. We have basically a student organization run team, and Leroy coached it when he was here, and I took over because it was really important to me. And so that either competes in either the small co-ed or the all-girl division. So all-girl obviously makes sense. It's all females on the team. Small co-ed means there are 4 males, 16 females that are competing. Large co-ed means that there can be up to 11 males. What's interesting is we actually compete 11 males, 9 females in the large co-ed division. So, right, maybe a little bit different than people think, that we have more guys out there than girls. But so that small co-ed or all girl team, we kind of change around divisions. And then about the same time that I was starting, a new sport form of cheerleading was starting, and that was called stunt. So capital STUNT. And it was actually just recognized by the Committee of Women Athletics really, I guess, a year ago to be recommended for emerging sports status. COVID put everything on hold. And so we'll go up for vote this next, I think January is when that happens. And so we've competed in stunt the last 8 years, and we've won the last 7 national championships in the D1 division. So yeah, it's exciting and it's fun to give these athletes that, really are just part of a student organization an opportunity to represent OSU so well.
And how long has this been such a respected program? Can you kind of step us through, was there a moment that like OSU cheer became such a powerhouse, or has it just always been that way?
So if you look back at the history in the late 80s, early 90s, OSU was really good. If I'm not mistaken, we actually invented somebody on our teams invented the rewind, which is when you do a backflip and land, right? They throw you up, you do a backflip and land on the guys or in the group's hands. And so we won in the late 80s, early 90s. And then for whatever reason, there was just kind of a dip. The all-girl team did disappear during that time. And so kind of coincidentally, Leroy moved to Oklahoma. He had a very successful cheer career at the University of Louisville. And his wife, Brandy, was at OU, or really was an OU alum, and came in, and basically Oklahoma State was kind of between coaches at the time. So this was in 2005-2006 school year. And we're in between coaches, and they're kind of like, hey, Leroy, like, you want to come coach us? And he did, and actually took that team to be 3rd place in the nation that year, which was like a huge leap from where they had been. And alumni are really important to us. And since I've been here, we've really had an opportunity to engage a little bit more with alumni since I know everybody. But Mandy Weidman is one of the alumni that kind of was the first really, really talented female, could have gone and cheered at a variety of places and said, hey, I want to come to OSU. I want to really, you know what I mean, bring that respect there. So, and then after that, it was just, kind of keeping that momentum. People buy into Oklahoma State and kind of what we stand for, and they want to cheer here.
And then what does a normal week look like, if there is such a thing, for your student athletes? What all are they managing with academics and sports and all the things?
Yeah, so we practice 3 days a week for about 2 hours each practice. In the spring semester is our competitive season, so we practice for, I tell them, up to 2.5 hours. I try really hard to be on time all the time because I know that their time is so precious. In a typical year, we also have strength workouts twice a week, so that's added in. So they're up, at 6 a.m. with all the other athletes, making sure to get their workouts in. And of course, do have the academic standards that we're making sure to uphold. But one thing is, nobody in the Spirit Squad is on any sort of scholarship. We do have some maybe academic scholarships, just through the university, but our student athletes are not part of the scholarship program. And so most of them actually work a part-time job as well. Wow. Of my 30 athletes that I typically have on the large Coed team in a given year, probably about 20 are out of state. So, when you consider kind of what that cost looks like, they're working and trying to maintain everything.
Wow. So a lot of this, all this time we're talking about, is a lot of that is volunteer from these student athletes.
Yeah, and so really, and that's like, a typical week, not when you have a football game on a Saturday or you have a basketball game on a Tuesday and a Friday and a Sunday. And you have a wrestling match to throw in there. And there's this appearance that we have to cover, for the university. So really, it's like the bare minimum typical week is practice, workouts, school, job.
Wow. I continue to gain respect for this group of athletes, for sure. And I know people watching will, because we're about to play this clip. This is the large Coed team, national championship team, coached by Lindsay Bracken, and we're going to give it a watch, and we'll be back in a minute.
Let me see them O's up. Welcome to Cowboy Nation. Oh, it feels so good to be back. Cowboys, let's attack. Locked and loaded, gun smoking. Shoot 'em up, bang, bang, black and orange. Cowboys making noise, we don't play. Bellum in the building, yeah, that's Oklahoma State. Cowboys shoot 'em up, bang, bang, you know how that pistol hangs. It's Orange Power Hour. Gun talk, gun talk. Oklahoma State. And you did it from start to finish, no stopping, no quitting, cause we go the hardest. We got that spirit was spread like a virus of tongue. So what you gonna do when the guns come out? Cause I'm locked and unloaded, I work with my target. You can count on the Cowboys to crush and conquer competition and winning and on. Give it up, that ring is mine. Could you please return it? Could you be so kind? If not, on guard, it was mine from the start. Won't give it, we will take it, this is how it's gonna go. P-U-C-G, that's the code that we live by. Just because you got them hat and boots don't mean that you can ride.
Giddy up, I'm gone, high on my horse, you run alone, you can't keep up, you eating up, we too fast, you too slow. Hey! Giddy up, squad horsepower is way too tough. Bottom cowboy, cowgirl, let's go. Big on, just sling around the flow. Big on, boom, stepping on your toe. Big on, boom, we're about to explode. Big on, boom, OSU, let's go. Big on, boom, OSU, let's go. Hang on high, just to the sky. We ride, cross the line. It is in our place, feel it in the rain. 45 chaps, banding us the spurs. We are Cowboys forever. We are Cowboys. OSU! We are Cowboys forever. Can't nobody hold us down. We
Lindsay, that is incredible. I mean, talk about athletes. You'd go from those tumble passes to you've got what, 3 people stacked high with a girl on the hand. Like it's hard to wrap your brain around, honestly.
Yeah, sorry, it was like taking a moment. I was just like emotional, like watching that routine, just the joy for the kids. But yeah, like I said, it's during games, you don't get to kind of see, what all these athletes are capable of, and kind of what they can put together. So yeah.
Man, I'm gonna have to go watch that again. Is there a place that people can watch it? Is it up online?
So really Varsity TV is kind of where it's normally found, or Flow Cheer, which if you have any Flow account, then you can access the Flow Cheer. So it's up there. But we might have a clip on some of our social media, but yeah, I have my own copy, so I just go watch that all the time.
I would too. I'd just hype you up in the morning. Well, this is a perfect transition into one of our audience questions. So Drew wants to know more about the tradition after winning a national championship in Florida and the way the team goes into the ocean with their trophies. So I think we have some video of that as you answer.
Yeah, so that is right. Obviously, you can see in the video that we compete outside, and it's literally right on the beach. So it has been the tradition for years that if you win, then you run into the ocean in uniform. And what's really not totally included in that is then we actually sing the alma mater, and that's kind of been a tradition, and sing the fight song, and it's just really such a special moment. The uniforms stink after it, but it is so much fun, and the beach doesn't show that all our friends and family that traveled there are sitting there and just watching it. And it's something that was really, really special this year. So because of COVID, there were some differences, obviously, in how the competition was formatted and ran. And so they did virtual awards. And so a virtual announcement of the winners. And there is no cell phone service down there whatsoever, and there's like no Wi-Fi. So we are standing on the beach just trying to get any signal whatsoever. And we finally, get it. But we actually set up a Zoom with a lot of our alumni cheer, that wanted to be a part of it. And that's, one of the things that's so special about this is that alumni involvement, and still that desire to kind of pay attention to what's going on. And so when they announced it and everybody got a chance to run into the ocean, it was just awesome.
Oh, that's so fun. Well, this was an audience question as well. Who creates the music with all the OSU tie-ins that we just watched, all the OSU references?
Yeah, so we actually use a music producer, Innovative Performance Productions. There are, in the cheer world, there are different music producers that can do a bunch of amazing things. So Steve Pollack is the gentleman that we work with there, and I think he's done the music since I was on the team, basically 2008-ish maybe. And so he's really done the music since we've been here. So he knows a lot of what we have. And there's a nod to Cowboys Forever in there, so it really is just special to try to, tie it in and make it unique.
And Jessica asked how the sport of cheerleading has changed from your time on the squad until now. So skills, expectations, any of that.
So luckily I'm not so old that there's a ton of changes. No, really, it was starting to kind of evolve to be, more difficulty was expected. I kind of joke, it's like, man, would I have made the team if I were trying out now? But really, we've actually seen a few rules as far as basket tosses, where you throw the girls up and catch them, after they do a flip. Those rules have actually changed a little bit to limit the skills they're doing, just for safety reasons. But kind of in everything else, it's kind of, just pedal to the metal moving forward. And I would say across the board, the athletes that we have on the team are much more talented, than when I cheered. But the whole sport is just becoming more and more athletic.
Okay. And then Shelby asked, what's your favorite thing about working with your squads?
Oh man, I think just seeing the kids go from, this scared little freshman who thinks that cheerleading is the end all be all to mature, young adults who realize that there is more to life than cheerleading, and they're going to PT school and they're going to med school and they're getting married and they're having careers, and just kind of seeing that development and that growth, and knowing how much they put into, these experiences. And I love watching them be successful.
And then how do your squads come up with new motions or moves that they haven't performed before?
So sometimes it's, the same skills, just done a different way. But in addition to coaching, I'm a professor at another university, and I drive up to Stillwater from the Edmond area. And so needless to say, I have a lot of time to think about things. So sometimes I'm just like, I wonder if we did this, or I wonder if we did that. And the athletes have a really good, rapport that if they come up with an idea, they'll also say, hey, let's try this, or I thought of that. We also do hire a choreographer. So this year, Brad Vaughn is an all-star gym owner down in the Dallas area, and Spirit of Texas, and he did our choreography. So really, he's the one who kind of, puts it all together and makes it magical. So people that are better than me do that, is how that answer goes.
Well, Christy asked if the team ever practices over the summer or if it's just a school year thing.
So we do start in the summer. So first off, all summer, just, with Palm and Pete, we're doing appearances, the entire summer. So any given weekend, the kids are, representing OSU at least, one time, if not multiple. And Palm, I know, practices twice during the summer. Because I have so many out-of-state kids, I didn't feel like it was fair to ask them to travel, especially right when they have the cost of school to consider. And so we practice in July. We practice for about 10 days, and then we attend cheer camp. So, maybe it's kind of like the movies, but in order to get a bid to nationals, you have to, attend camp and demonstrate a certain caliber of skill. And so we do attend cheer camp with NCA down in Dallas each summer.
And then this is a fun one. Sarah wants to know if the squads from different universities become friends at any point.
Yeah. So, so in the large Coed division, our main competitors are the University of Louisville and Texas Tech University, right? They are, powerhouses in the sport. If, for the last however many years, it's been one of the three of us that, is placing, first. And so you kind of are like, but really you have so much respect for them, and they're working camps together throughout the year and just interacting. So it was really nice. We actually got an opportunity to interact with some of the athletes from Texas Tech this past weekend at an event. And, some of my kids were kind of saying like, oh, it's so nice to be able to talk to them for longer than 5 minutes just during competition. So yes, so many of them come from the same all-star programs, the same high schools. So they all know each other. And so then you get into college and you're just watching from afar, their own successes and experiences.
Well, yeah, and I guess it's similar to, your top high school football players or top high school basketball players. They're all kind of in the same world, and yet they want to win. And so
yes.
There's a little bit of that
right.
as well. Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think,
right.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, right when you're competing in the moment, not the greatest of friends. Any other time, really good friends.
Absolutely. Well, okay. I think this is the perfect question to wrap up on today. But what are you most looking forward to about this upcoming year for your squads?
I mean, it sounds silly, it's everybody's answer these days, but to get back to normal and really what that normal means. So one thing, because of COVID happening, right, it was all of a sudden there was a lot of decisions that had to be made. And because of the bubble situation, because of businesses going out, we didn't have a practice space. Our athletic trainer had to get pulled to football because there was, staffing changes there. So we really had a lot of things that, basic unknowns, like basic necessities were unknown last year, and we just kind of jumped around, and we weren't part of the testing process with athletics. So I felt like, how do I control COVID? So I put some really, really strict behavioral guidelines on my athletes. They gave up so much of that college experience, right? Like, I mean, I have kids that are 21 and I'm like, you're not going to the bars, right? And the greatest thing about it is that nobody really gave me any pushback. And I would have known. It's like, if you want somebody to know something, tell a cheerleader, right? I mean, it's not untrue, and so the fact that they sacrifice so much to represent this university and do their sport, for get to do it again and actually have that full collegiate experience and get to experience game day and, get to interact more than their 6 friends that I told them to make friends with, and not have to, dread when somebody's calling me like, oh gosh, do you have COVID? Just because of what that meant for stopping our practices.
Absolutely. Get back in the swing of it. And
yes,
hopefully we'll have, these much bigger crowds to be able to appreciate the work that your athletes do as well. During those spirit runs when they tumble across, that's always my favorite part of the game.
Yeah. People don't understand how hard that wood floor is on your hands. So yes, cheer louder during the spirit run because it aches and hurts. And yeah. So we know you guys love it. We don't always love it, but we will perform it always.
All right. There's everybody that's watching. That is your new mission. You've got to cheer louder during the spirit runs. But
yep.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. And congratulations. Like I said, not 1, not 2, but 3 national championships this year. That's huge for the university and for your program as well.
Well, thank you, Julia. Yeah, we're just happy to be representing Oklahoma State well. That's always our mission.
Well, and to everybody watching, our next Friday with the Family will be in July. You can register soon at orangeconnection.org/webinars. That's down below there. And there you can also view our previous broadcast along with many other educational videos. So that video from today and including their performance will be on there, and you can check that out here in a little bit as well. Now is a great time to log on to your new online profile at orangeconnection.org. You can claim your life membership credit and secure your member benefits for life. Membership also helps the Alumni Association connect Cowboys virtually through programming just like Fridays with the Family. Thank you again for joining us today. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, wear orange, and go Pokes.